Did you know that Sauvignon Blanc is grown in over 10 countries across the globe? Well, today we're going to talk about which countries make the best Sauvignon Blanc.
While Sauvignon Blanc is grown all over the world, it really has a different expression depending on where it's grown and what farming practices are used.
So Sauvignon Blanc is a grape that can trace its heritage back about 500 years, but where it's truly from is open to a little bit of debate. Certainly France is the home of Sauvignon Blanc, but whether or not the ancestral home is Sancerre in the Loire Valley or in Bordeaux is kind of a debate that we're still having. Some of the common flavors and aromatics you're going to get out of Sauvignon Blanc are honeydew melon, white peach, stone fruits, grapefruit and lime, and fresh cut mowed lawn grass.
All Sauvignon Blanc grapes have a compound called methoxypyrazines. And methoxypyrazines sounds like a goofy word, but it actually is a compound that gives Sauvignon Blanc its grassiness, its herbaceousness. And you find this not only in Sauvignon Blanc, but in Cabernet Sauvignon as well, which is actually an offspring of Sauvignon Blanc.
One of the most widely known areas for Sauvignon Blanc is New Zealand.
New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc may be the most distinctive style of Sauvignon Blanc. Incredibly aromatic, very high acidity, almost a pungency to the wine. You get lots of jalapeno pepper and that grassy herbaceousness, gooseberry. Some of the warmer styles from New Zealand can get a little tropical, some papaya, grapefruit, mango flavors. Absolutely delicious.
Because the acidity is so high in New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, there's a tendency to even add a gram or two of residual sugar in the winemaking process to help offset the really high, laser-like, razor-sharp acidity. And it makes for a very, very pleasant drinking wine.
Sometimes New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc can be looked down upon by wine snobs. I don't understand that at all. Perhaps it's because they all come with a stealth enclosure. Stealth enclosures are good for wines that you want to consume quickly, but they got this reputation as sort of everyday porch pounders. New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc is much more than this. A lot of them have great complexity, lots of layers of flavor, absolutely delicious style.
An example of New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc that I love is the Aratus Sauvignon Blanc from the Awatere Valley, which is within Marlborough in the South Island of New Zealand. It's a very gooseberry, green pea, grapefruit, lime pith forward wine with really, really bracing acidity, but it's just so pleasant for summertime heat. It pairs with lighter foods. It is a primary fruit wine, so if you're gonna pair with food, you need to do something that's also light so they don't offset one another.
Jules Taylor is one of my favorite and one of our best-selling New Zealand Sauvignon Blancs. You get a more refined style. Jules Taylor actually used to be the winemaker at Kim Crawford and then ventured out on her own. Absolutely spectacular wines.
So even though Sauvignon Blanc has really only been planted in New Zealand since the early to mid 70s, it is such an integral part of the wine industry of this country, it's become almost a second home for Sauvignon Blanc. Sauvignon Blanc is grown in many places across France, and because of that, they'll all taste a little bit different. In Bordeaux, the tendency is actually to age these wines in a little bit of oak or age them on their lees. And in doing that, it makes a much more round and opulent and fat version of Sauvignon Blanc. They also blend in a grape called Semillon, which adds an oily and heavier texture to these wines. So really high-end white Bordeauxs can age for a long time. They're very, very elegant, and they're much more texturally expressive than, say, some of the neighbors in right down the street in New Zealand. One of my favorite white Bordeauxs is the Chateau Tour Léognan, and it's a wine that's very expressive with notes of beeswax and honeysuckle and lemongrass. It's a very, very almost academic wine, something that you can really think about while you drink it, but it pairs absolutely beautifully with a number of softer dishes, lighter foods, white meats, and summer salads.
The Sancerre region in France is famous for its Sauvignon Blanc. The Sauvignon Blanc that comes from the village of Sancerre really has a certain minerality about it. And minerality is one of those terms, kind of a vague, geeky term in wine terminology, that I personally think gets overused a lot. But in the case of Sancerre, I think it's actually real. Here's a couple of stones from a vineyard in Sancerre. And it's compressed limestone and chalk. And the wines of Sancerre are often said to have a bit of a flintiness or a smokiness. And if you take these stones and click them together and smell the stones, you can smell that same flintiness that you find in the wines of both Sancerre and Pouilly-Fumé, which is just across the river. Anthony Girard's Sancerre has all this steely minerality and crispness to it. It's really very seriously made Sancerre, perfect for that goat cheese salad that you might enjoy.
Sauvignon Blanc is grown across the United States, but today we're going to focus specifically on California-style Sauvignon Blanc. Now, interestingly enough, California does not have 1,000 years of winemaking history that some of these other countries do. So the Sauvignon Blanc from California is a style that's very loosely defined. It's very much winemaker driven. So you can have a lot of different styles of Sauvignon Blanc coming out of California.
Sometimes in California, you'll see Sauvignon Blanc labeled as Fumé Blanc. And Fumé Blanc is really a term that was coined by Robert Mondavi. Typically in California, it'll be a wine that has seen a little bit of oak aging.
California tends to be a warmer climate than some of the other growing regions that Sauvignon Blanc flourishes in, and because of that, the wines are more medium-bodied, and the acidity is a little bit lower than that of, say, France or certainly New Zealand.
The Russian River Valley is a place that's usually more known for their Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, but Trione's Russian River Valley Sauvignon Blanc is absolutely one of my favorite wines, and their Sauvignon Blanc is absolutely delicious.
So which country produces the best Sauvignon Blanc? Well, before I answer that question, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell, and leave some comments below.
So while you'll find great Sauvignon Blanc from all over the world, my personal favorite really is Sancerre. I just love the minerality, there's that word again, that you get from good Sancerre. Can't beat it.
If I had to choose one of them, I would probably choose White Bordeaux, just because I love those wines, I love pairing them with food, and you can age some of them for a long time, and that makes for fun, scientific wine drinking. So now that you know a little bit more about Sauvignon Blanc, make sure to shop with us online at abcfws.com or check out one of our retail locations across the state of Florida. And check out some of our other videos.